Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. I'm Susan Martinez here with EZClaim, and we're really excited to have our partnered BillFlash Services Next Trust Company with us today to present a really informative webinar for you regarding 7 ways to ask your patients for payments. We have a really great relationship with BillFlash, and gosh, we're going on a decade with them. We're being able to send statements out to your patients and some other wonderful solutions that they offer and suites of products with their services with Next Trust. So I've got Tony Peterson here who's going to be presenting to you those ways on asking your patients for payment. So Tony, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to you.
Thank you very much, Susan, and thank you all for giving us a little bit of your time this afternoon or morning, depending on where you are. Hopefully this is very beneficial to you and your practices. We really appreciate the partnership that we have with EZClaim and the team over there, Susan and Dan. They're outstanding people and they have outstanding products. So we're happy that we're able to look at this in new ways and find ways that we can work together to help make your practices more successful. Today we're going to be focusing on specifically 7 ways that you can ask your patients for payment. It's very important right now, given that the world really has changed so significantly over the last year. We need to make sure that we're asking patients to pay in as many ways as possible. They're going to come up with their own reasons not to pay. In order for our practices to continue to thrive, we need to make sure that we're asking them and helping enable them to make those payments. And that's what we'll be focused on here today. If you have any questions throughout the presentation, you can type those into the GoToWebinar interface that is there. We have a team of people, including Susan and James and Angie from Next Trust, who will be monitoring those questions and asking them to me towards the end of the presentation. If there's any that are specific to a situation that you have, we will get back to you and provide those answers in a one-off basis after the presentation. So let's jump right into the topic at hand for today, which is how to ask your patients for payment. 7 specific ways. So what are the different ways we're going to be talking about today? Well, we've got them up here on the screen. And it's important that we look at these things in total as a group as well as individually, because each of these things work with the other as opposed to being something that you do completely separate. So the first thing is using a simple approach. Making it as easy as possible for the patient to not only understand their bill and understand what they need to pay, but how to actually go about paying it. The second topic is how to frame the message, how to ask the question in a way that leads to the answer that you would like to hear. Next, we have ways that you can connect with your patients. Connecting with them is even more important in the world today, as people have become, in a lot of ways, more disconnected from each other. We need to find ways to connect with our patients more effectively. We need to align with future actions, which means we need to help them make the decision to do the right thing early on in the process. And align the patient with understanding, here's what you're going to be asked to do in the future. We need to identify risks, and that is for both our practice and for the patient. We need to create incentives and potentially establish a reward system that drives the patients to do the things and exhibit the behaviors that we want them to. Those behaviors are very different now than what they might have been even a year ago. And we need to make sure that we're incentivizing and rewarding our patients that do the things that we want them to do. Because if we don't do that, other practices that are out there are going to. So those are the 7 topics that we'll be going through, the 7 ways that you can ask your patients to pay their bills. And like I said, if you have any questions as we go, ask them in the interface. So let's jump right in. A simple approach. Studies show that most people are more influenced by simple, easy to understand options. This gives them something that they can trust. If you take a look at the maze that is there on the left-hand side, if that were a complete maze filled all the way in with the sides blocked off, it would be a much harder process for somebody to understand. Showing them the way all the way through, making it easy to do and easy to comprehend, means that they understand what it is that they're going to be asked to do. So when you speak with your patients, make sure that you're keeping things simple. What you're really trying to do, your goal with this simple approach, is to remove obstacles that might hinder communication. You want to simplify your message so that the patient trusts exactly what it is that you're asking them to do. Now let's take a look at two different scenarios that you could run into in your practice. Scheduling an appointment. When you're setting the appointment, it's important that you recognize this is the first point in time where you have the ability to ask for any of the money that's coming from that visit. You can, at that point in time, ask the patient to pay the copay in advance. And not only the copay, but any outstanding balance that might be there. If you take a look at what your script might be in models that are not necessarily here on the screen, you might just say, we're confirming that your appointment is set for Thursday at 4 p.m. We look forward to seeing you. And if that is the end of that, you can be reasonably sure that the patient is going to show up in your office at some point on Thursday, sometime around 4 p.m. Might be a little early, might be a little late. If you change that script and modify it slightly to include your copay is $25, we can take credit, debit, or I can send you a link to our online payment portal right now, that is a little bit different. You're setting the expectation with the patient that they're going to be asked to pay for the services before they show up, before they're rendered. You're telling them the amount and you're giving them the opportunity to resolve that right then and there. That simple change makes it more likely that the patient is going to pay. Why is that? Well, because they still need something from you. They need the appointment that they're trying to schedule. So if you shift the point in time to where you're asking the patient to pay their portion from after the visit or once they show up to prior to showing up, that sets the expectation with the patient that they will be needing to pay for the services that their insurance does not cover. It's also going to make it easy for them to trust you. They're not going to have to worry about it if they make that payment up front. You're not going to have to collect from them after the fact. So that trust is a whole lot greater when you collect from them up front. In our second scenario, it's a little bit different. This is confirming an appointment for Mr. Jones. And this is another point in time where we are looking to shift the conversation on a balance before a visit. The reason, again, is because that's the point in time where you as a practice have the most leverage over your patient. It's before you have seen them. Once they're in your office and you've provided the services, then they're going to delay as long as they can so that they don't have to pay any earlier than they absolutely have to. So if we take a look at the scenario and the script that we might utilize for a appointment confirmation. Hi, Mr. Jones, I'm confirming your appointment for this Thursday at 4 p.m. I see that you have a balance of $125. We can take care of that now to save you time when you get here. You can also utilize this as a point to minimize the interactions that the patients may have with staff in your office. You can use this as a social distancing point to help the patients feel like they're more secure coming into your practice because you have thought of ways to reduce the interactions that they need to have with people that are not directly involved in providing the care. So asking for this at that point in time, asking them, how would you like to pay your balance? It's giving them the opportunity to pay and setting the expectation, like we said with the first scenario. When you simplify these things and move the point in time for when you're asking for that payment ahead of the visit, it's going to be a lot more simple for the patient to understand and more likely that they're going to actually pay that bill. So let's move on to the next item in our list, framing the message. You will see a little bit of message framing up on the previous slide that we were on before in the scripts that we have there. But really what we're talking about with framing the message is you want to ask the question in a way that the response is going to be yes, or here's my credit card, you can charge it right now. Asking them, do you plan on paying your bill, is a different question than how would you like to pay your bill. If you ask them if they plan on paying it, you're opening it up to all of the reasons that they would not want to. You're opening the door for them to consider not paying the bill. Framing the message appropriately leads them to, more often than not, or more likely, it'll lead them to pull out their wallet and actually pay the bill. So your goal with the way you speak to your patients should be to elicit a no-brainer response. Well, the first scenario, at check-in, the communication script could be via sign-in sheet. You could ask them on their sign-in sheet to utilize or to put their credit card on file. You could ask them to scan a QR code, for example, that we'll show you here in just a minute, and go pay their payment online on their phone. You could ask them to sign up for plan pays or auto pays on their check-in process. It's also very important for you to understand that at this point in time, we're not talking about your financial policy and asking them to agree to that. You're not saying, do you agree to let me charge you? You're asking them to specifically sign up to put their credit card on file, or to automatically sign up for an automatic payment or automated plan payment. Those are the types of things that you want to give them the ability to set up on their sign-in sheet. Don't give them an option to not set up one of these things. Another scenario is setting up automated payments based on recurring appointments. The script that you might have, you're scheduled for a visit on May 5th. Several of our patients choose a specific day for their payments to be made and have set amounts determined on their account. Can we set this up for you right now? If you speak to your patients and ask them to set up either a credit card on file, a plan pay, an automated payment, that's going to make it a much more likely response to have them pay than if you wait until you've seen them, you call them after the insurance has made their payment, you've gotten the EOB, and now you call them and say, I know, Mr. Jones, you were here last week, we need you to pay for it now. And then Mr. Jones is going to give you all the different reasons why he can't or won't pay you at that point in time. Elicit that no-brainer response. Ask the question in a way that will lead you to the message that you are trying, or the response you're trying to get out of them. We'll go back up here and show you one last time. Your copay is $25. We take credit, debit, or I can send you to a link in our payment portal. This is telling them, here are your options. That's way different than saying, would you like to make your payment today? That is an example of framing the message that we're talking about as well. We're also going to be providing to you a My Provider Links QR code that you could frame and put in your waiting room or put up on your window, so that if somebody scans that, they'll be taken right to My Provider Link, which is where they can sign up for their account. They can make their payments to you in your practice. This will make it very easy for them to pay you if they can get to the payment portal over their phone as they're sitting there in the waiting room waiting to be seen. So this is something that you can utilize, whether you're using this one or creating one on your own. give the patients an easy way to get to the place where they can make those payments. Our third method for asking patients to make their payments is to connect with them. You want to be the voice that patients trust when they're weighing their payment options. Tell the patients about your most popular payment options. Let them know how other people are making their payments. Offer them methods that fit their situation. If you have a patient who has lost a job as a result of the economic downturn that came with the pandemic, offer them delayed payment plans. Find ways to communicate and connect with the patient that helps them realize that you see them as a person and that you have payment options that are ready to accommodate their needs as a person. You'll also want to talk with them about what sets you apart from other practices. The fact that you can offer them an automated payment solution for their medical payments is something that makes it a whole lot easier for them to be a patient with your practice than with other practices. Talk to them about that. That's something that a lot of patients will appreciate. And if they don't appreciate that you make it easier for them to pay their bill, then they're not a patient that is likely to pay their bill. So they're not the ones that we would want to focus on necessarily as often or as much at that point in time. How does that script work? What does that look like as you're talking with your patients and communicating with them? You want to influence them through your personal connection. So in our first scenario, if you were scheduling payments based on recurring appointments, the script might read something like this. Many of our patients who come in regularly like to set up an automatic payment to be made on the 5th of every month. Would you like to set up something similar to manage your recurring bills with our practice? Or can I set up something similar to manage your recurring bills right now? Our second scenario would be a payment plan. Your script could be something like this. Payment plans are a popular option among our patients who prefer to pay off large bills in smaller increments. I can set that up for you today. A lot better than saying, would you like to pay your $500 bill? And when they can't pay it, they'll say, I can't do that today. Getting paid something over the course of a longer period of time is better than getting paid nothing for the patient's portion that you're billing them for. So connect with your patients. Let them know what the options are. Help them understand that they have ways that they can make paying their bill easier and more palatable, and you're going to find that more of them are going to actually make the decision to pay their bill. You also, again, want to have this conversation prior to the visit occurring with the patient. If you wait until after the visit, it's far too late. Our fourth topic for how to ask a patient to pay their bill. You want to align with future actions. Ask the patient, how do you intend to pay, rather than do you intend to pay? When you ask them this, it acts as a contract between the practice and the patient of how the payment is going to be made. That contract is a verbal contract. It's, like we said, it's different than the financial policy. If you'll see right down here at the bottom of our slide here, financial policy is not an intent to pay. You want to get them to agree to their future actions before the visit, and signing that policy won't get them there. What you want them to do is say, I will pay this right now, or I'm going to agree to sign up for an automated payment or an automated payment plan. In our first scenario, if there's a potential balance after the visit occurs, the script could be as follows. How will you settle the balance of today's visit? Can I set you up with an auto pay, with a plan pay? How do you intend to pay the remainder of your balance for today's visit? That is different than we will reach out to you after the insurance has been billed and paid. The whole model where we wait to ask until after the insurance is paid came from a time when the patient owed about 5 to 10% of each visit. Now that number is well over 50% of each visit is owed by the patient. If you wait until after the insurance is paid, that means that you are waiting and putting the majority of the revenue at risk. So you need to make sure that these things happen before the visit. In our second scenario, where you're inquiring about the payment, your script could be as follows. How do you plan to pay? If the patient says online, then you can send out the statement, the e-bill immediately via email with instructions on how to pay. You can talk them through it over the phone and then view that immediately on your BillFlash account if that's something that you're choosing to utilize. Again, you need to understand that the financial policy is not an intent to pay. Ask them to sign up for plan pay, auto pay, or stored pay options prior to the visit occurring, and they're more likely to say yes because they need you to see them during the visit. Once they're signed up for that, then it's going to make getting those payments far easier once the visit has completed. Identifying risks. People are interesting in that they usually will weigh their different options that are out there, and they will select what they view as the least risky option for themselves. So what you want to do is incentivize your patients to do the thing that we want them to do. In our first scenario, a discount today, full pay tomorrow. If you're speaking with your patient and they have a larger balance, you could say something to them similar to what we have here. We estimate the cost of today's visit will be $500 after insurance. I've broken that into 5 payments, or I can give you a 10% discount if you pay in full today. These types of policies are completely authorized in some plans. You may want to check with some of the payers where you are participating, because if they have a rule that prevents you from offering something like this, you want to know that up front. But the majority of plans that are out there will allow you to do things like this, provided that you are consistent in how you apply them to patients. You can't give your friends and family a 10% discount for paying in full and everybody else gets a full price. You need to be consistent in that. But offering somebody a discount for paying in full rather than waiting and splitting it into a 5 different payment plan, that is going to give them the incentive and the ability to weigh their risk. Do they want to pay more over the course of 5 months, or do they want to pay less by paying it all off today? Either one of those are valid options for you and your practice. You need to help the patient make the selection that is best for them. And when they make that selection, that means that you and your practice are going to get paid, so everybody benefits from that. In our second scenario, clearing up balances, the script that you could use might be as follows. I see you have a $600 balance with us. I can try to have that reduced by 10% if you would like to get that on a payment plan today. Again, provide them with a benefit when they do something that you're asking them to do, which is make their payment. You need to get them to sign up for these things and entice them to do that. It's a whole lot easier, like I've said many times on the call today, if you were asking prior to the visit, but if this is a post-visit conversation, lowering their balance or accepting a smaller percentage in order to get them paid in full is absolutely a tool that you need to utilize in order to get them to be more likely to pay. We've combined our items 6 and 7 into one section here on our presentation today. And I think that it's important, again, I want to put out there all of the caveats that if there are incentives and rewards that you need to offer, you need to make sure that the payers that you are signed on with and participating with are allowing that. So you need to make sure that you are following all of those rules and regulations before you do any of the things that you're seeing here that we talk about here today. So please keep that in mind, but keep in mind as we talk about these things, consumers are drawn to free items a lot more than they are to discounted products, even when the discount might help them save more money or get more value out of their purchase. And really, one of the things that that we found was some places will offer physical gifts. I've seen it at my dermatologist's office, where they will offer gifts of cream if you come in a certain number of times, or refer people over, or pay your bill on time. So if you want to look at these things, I would strongly recommend that you reach out to a company like Red Spot Interactive that we have up here on the screen right now. Red Spot Interactive is one that focuses in medical practices and offering medical savings books or coupon books that are specifically legal within the medical industry, and focused on helping your patients recognize a reward for being a patient at your practice and doing the things that you would like them to do. So reach out to a company like Red Spot Interactive, and there's a number of other ones that are out there. They are not a partner of ours. They're not a partner of EZClaim. They're just one that we looked up and found that is out there among many who offer these types of programs to medical practices. But if you can find ways to give your patients a different experience, where you're providing them loyalty programs for making their payments, for example, communicating with them at the right point in time prior to the visit, giving them options like signing up for automated payment plans, speaking to them in terms that lead them to the answer you want them to give, they're going to be far more likely to make those payments, and your practice is going to be far more likely to benefit from that. So if we take a look at the different solutions that are there that we have to offer between EZClaim and BillFlash, you can do online pre-visit payments through your EZClaim portal, in-office payments through your EZClaim portal, the text and email notices, the online post-visit payments, the stored payment plans, the statements that are delivered to them. Between EZClaim and BillFlash, we have all of those under one roof for you that will allow you to increase the likelihood that your patients are going to make those payments. So with that said, did we have any questions that came up during the presentation today, James or Angie or Susan?
Thanks, Tony. No, I haven't seen any questions come through, so if anyone has any questions, please feel free to submit those, or you can respond to the emails that you'll receive with the webinar recording and slides as well.
Thank you, Tony. That was great. Guys, Tony's got some time if you have questions about this process. Certainly, we're available right now to talk to you and answer your questions if you want to put them in that chat box in the GoToWebinar section.
And if not, then you can also ask them at the email addresses that are up there. We'll answer them there as well. So if you think of something later, don't worry about it. We can do it either way.
Absolutely, and you're welcome to contact me as well, Susan at EZClaim.com, and I can help answer anything about BillFlash or get you to the right person, the right sales rep.
Absolutely. Well, Susan, do you want to wrap up the call for today?
Oh, sure. Yeah, I guess we don't see any questions coming in, and really appreciate the presentation and the partnership with you guys. Certainly, everybody take advantage of some of the solutions that they can offer you to help get those payments in and keep your revenue flowing for your practices. Great company to work with and super, super solutions being offered your way. And we really appreciate you guys being available to our clients to help them out with these solutions and giving us these webinars, and very informative. Thank you so much for your time. We hope everybody has a great day.
Thank you, Susan. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you. We'll see you again next month.